Something every person needs to learn from an early age is that we can be forgiven for whatever we do wrong, but there are still consequences. So then, the Duggar family penalty was imposed.
One of the ways our parents have taught us to keep our sibling relationships strong is to deal with offenses quickly. That means a prompt and meaningful apology. Mom and Dad have taught us what a meaningful apology is not. It's not saying, "I'm sorry, but," and it's never saying things like, "I'm sorry if you were offended."
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It's Friday, October 21st. My voice is a little bit hoarse today, so you're going to have to bear with me as I change octaves probably frequently. We have a lot to talk about, and today we are going to be bringing up some articles that have been coming out from In Touch about the Duggars and some inconsistent narratives that are being pushed by sources. And it's a little bit confusing to me knowing what I know about all the players involved, as well as people telling me behind the scenes what's actually going on, what this means and what it is, and how now the new narrative is that Josh is this loving, doting father that is just trying to protect his kids from the evil of the world. That's correct. That's the new narrative that's being pushed by sources by and around Josh and Anna Duggar. My first thought is, who cares what Josh thinks? But that's just my cynical ire that I have about him and the fact that he lost any right to have an opinion about any of this when he was put away for 12 years. But there's been a series of stories that have gone out, and it's also been following negative publicity for the Duggars and negative publicity for Josh because it has to do with his legal case. And one of Anna's friends came out from her childhood and was trying to explain kind of how the courtship went and how it was a whole big arrangement and brokered by Josh's dad and her dad. So obviously there needs to be some sort of counter story that's pushed on the other side to maybe not directly respond to that, but also in a way make it seem like they're just so in love and they're most amazing couple. And on top of that, that Jim, Bob, and Michelle are great people. So let's dive into Josh's concerns, Anna's concerns, and why none of us should really care. I said it, I said it, I said it. Before we do, can you do me a huge favor and give this video a thumbs up? Also, subscribe to my channel if you have not yet subscribed, and turn your notifications on so you know when I go live or new content loads. I think I've let most of you know that I am on a mission to get 300,000 subscribers. I want 300,000 of you to subscribe to my channel. It would be so amazing. I'm having such a blast. Did you see my new artwork? This is all because of subscribers and people that watch this channel on a daily basis. So it's totally free to subscribe. It costs you nothing, and it just gives you more of what you already love. So let's talk about these new articles that have come out by In Touch and why these are inconsistent compared to what we all know about the truth. And when it comes to this story, the Duggars don't seem to really care too much about the truth, in my opinion, because they really want you all still to buy into this idea that Josh was wrongly convicted, even though we know he wasn't. So there was an article that came out last night, okay? So last night there was an article that came out that says Josh Duggar fears that his wife will be influenced to leave him as she considers a Texas move. And I thought, who cares? Like, who cares what Josh Duggar fears? You know, when I think of when someone says that someone fears something, I think of, what did the kids in the CSAM fear? What are they continuing to fear every day, knowing that that content is out there? What about the children that are still in the care of Anna that seemingly are being exposed to a father, even though he's behind bars, and his very creepy thinking? What about those influences? That's what I think about. I don't care what Josh fears, but I will continue. I'm going to kind of react to this in the way that I would react to a Sister Wives video because that's how fired up I am right now. So it says that Josh Duggar fears that his wife will be influenced to leave him as she plans to move to Arkansas to Texas in order to be closer to prison. So he fears that she'll leave because he's going to move from Arkansas to Texas, which is flat out just a bogus, like, they're trying to paint Josh in this position like that Josh's fears are something that you and I should care about. And all of us don't care about Josh. We care about those kids, and that's it. And most of us are like wanting Anna to leave him. So I don't care if Josh fears that. But I'll tell you what, her moving to Texas won't make her leave because she'll live by Priscilla and David or on the IBLP property. She won't leave. That's my opinion. So it says the problem is that Josh doesn't want Anna and the kids moving away from his family. He thinks it will create too much of a disconnection for her and his kids. So here's the truth about this. Josh probably doesn't want her to move away because why? Because Jim Bob and Michelle probably keep the kids in a really tightly and controlled environment, and they can protect them from anybody else getting access to the kids. If she were to go to Texas, she loses that level of umbrella of authority. Really what Josh doesn't want is her to leave the umbrella of authority. And the facts is that he probably doesn't want Anna and the kids having any access to the outside that could potentially get the kids interviewed by, an authority figure, or Anna potentially getting interviewed by an authority figure. Not to mention, if you're so worried about your kids getting influenced, but yet you're the one that's behind bars for CSAM and you are an SO, and this is what you're worried about. You're worried about influences when your own behavior is probably the worst influence on these kids. But again, I will continue. It says that he shares the kids with Anna, and even though he can't raise the kids from prison, he's afraid of outside influences. You guys, Josh is afraid of outside influences the same way I'm afraid of my dog. He's not. That's a scapegoat. Josh is afraid of authorities or CPS or police investigating his kids and speaking to them. He's afraid that Anna might go rogue and talk to someone and tell them about what's going on in their marriage. While she's under the umbrella of authority with Jim Bob, all access around her is tightly controlled. She's probably on the phone plan for them. They probably monitor where she's going and where she's coming. He doesn't want Anna outside of his control because why? Because red flags. Red flags, everyone. If they were to leave her parents, she would have the ability to think for herself for a minute, maybe, unless she is constantly around her sister and brother-in-law, Priscilla and David, who are culties to the max. The kids have been predominantly raised not by Josh and Anna, but a large portion of their lives has been with the Duggars, which if you are from that world and you realize how much the Duggars are an unhealthy group, in my opinion, it's not a healthy place for the kids to be, but it's all they know, right? But his fears of outside influences when his own influence is the worst thing that the kids could have, or even the dysfunction that's in his family, it's just really upsetting in so many ways. And again, I really don't care what Josh wants or cares about. And then it goes on and says, he doesn't want anyone but Anna and his immediate family to guide his children. He also fears that if Anna distanced from his family, she might be influenced to leave him. He doesn't want anyone but Anna and his immediate family to guide his children. Why do you think that? Who has protected Josh and all of his secrets until this conviction? Even through this conviction, who has protected Josh and all of his secrets? Who has not cooperated with CPS or investigators to interview his kids? Who has gone out of their way to find friends to house Josh? Who has paid for his large bills for his defense? Who is housing his kids? Who is continuing to protect and promote this idea that he is innocent? His dad. Of course Josh doesn't want his kids away from his dad because his dad will protect his secrets. The fact is that Josh shouldn't have an opinion at this point. And the fact that the Duggars are still so heavily invested in this idea that Anna needs to be under their control, because really that's the truth of this. They don't want her to leave their control because if she goes rogue, they're screwed. Anna has all the secrets. Anna's not going to leave as long as she's under their control. Do you know that there's literally people in Anna's life that have everything that she needs. Like, they would literally give her a place to stay. They have extra beds for her. There are people that are willing to help pay for her to leave Josh, that are literally like, will go there and pick her up right now. There are people that have tried to get a hold of Anna and she will not talk to them. There are people that try to contact her and they think that somehow she's blocked them because Josh has made her block them, or someone in the Duggars has made her block them. There's literally people in and around Anna that want her to leave and they can't get through to her. And now they want you to believe that somehow Anna would have the ability to leave on her own and move to Texas. It would never happen. The only way that Anna's moving to Texas is if she gets the complete control and blessing of Jim Bob, and if someone else is sent as her minder, because she'll never be allowed to be alone, because she needs someone to make sure that she stays in line. This is my opinion, but knowing how this family protects Josh, right? Okay. She's supposedly like, he's upset about the influence. Like I said, Josh doesn't want anyone to interview his kids. Josh doesn't want any of his secrets to get out. And I want to be clear about something. There was a lot of concern by the prosecutors in this case because they were fearful for Josh's kids. At the bond hearing, Carly Marshall talked specifically about how Josh and Anna were interfering in CPS doing a forensic evaluation. It didn't happen. At the sentencing, Dustin Roberts called out Josh's very horrible preferences, right? And what he was looking at, and begged the judge to put him behind bars for 20 years because of Josh's 7 children. Those prosecutors are concerned about his kids, but apparently there was not enough proof and there wasn't cooperation on the side of Josh and Anna to charge him with anything related to those kids, because the kids were not, no one was granted access to the kids, which I still can't believe happens in this day and age, but it does. And it happens all the time. Kids are not protected all the time. But the prosecutors, up until the point of his conviction, up until the point of his sentencing, wanted those kids protected. We're clear about Josh not being safe for his kids. The sentencing says that he cannot be around his kids unsupervised, and he can't be around any children that are not his own, ever. Outside of his own kids. He can't be around other kids. He can only be around his kids and his kids supervised. Meaning he can't live with his kids because you cannot supervise a man when you're sleeping. So there's all these things in place to try to prevent Josh from being around kids, and then somehow we're supposed to care about his parenting. Okay? That's just putting out the facts here. Just because they didn't find evidence and they couldn't convict him doesn't mean there's not grave concerns based on and knowing he's done things like this in the past. You have to remember, all of these headlines are coming out while the appeal is going on, because this whole idea that he's a victim needs to be permeated into the media, so you guys think he's a victim and he's still a good father. So now another headline this morning is that Anna wants a change and she wants to distance from the Duggar family. So 2 weeks ago or a week ago, it was that she was considering a life without Josh. And now this week, she wants to get away from the Duggars. I feel like these sources can't even keep their narratives straight, period. And the facts are that whoever is leaking this information is right inside. So it has to be someone in the Duggar family or very, very, very close. This is not coming from a rogue friend that doesn't support the Duggar. This leak is coming from someone that is coming into the Duggar's life. They're not going to tell you anything that's not Duggar approved and Duggar narrative, okay? All of the people that know the truth about the Duggars won't speak like this. And I know this factually because I speak to dozens and dozens of people who know the dynamics of this marriage. And what I'm going to tell you is that this is all hogwash. And Jim Bob likes to have control of the public image. We've talked about this extensively. In fact, I talked to Caleb Williams about that last week, is that he's just very obsessed right now with his public image. That was Caleb's words. So this is what they said, is that she wants to distance herself from Josh, or from the Duggar family. Now, last week it was life without Josh. This week she's distancing herself from the Duggars. Which one is it? We know she's not divorcing him. So this is what the friend says, and this is, again, speculation. I can see Anna moving near her sister Priscilla to be closer to Josh's prison, but it's most likely about needing a change. She loves her sister and brother-in-law. Okay, for one thing, like, I already told you that Priscilla and David want her to move down there. That's like not, that's a known. Priscilla and David are well in the IBLP cult and huge culties. So no one should be surprised at all that Priscilla and David want her down there. And she's closest to Priscilla and David. And she's closest. I mean, David wrote a freaking letter to the judge about what an amazing guy Josh was. Of course. So how would being around Priscilla and David encourage her to leave him? It would never happen. They would encourage her to stay 100,000%. And then now, remember how last week the source said that she was considering life without Josh? Now they say that she hasn't given up on Josh. So it says, Anna hasn't given up on Josh. 12 years behind bars is a long time. She does want a change from her life in Arkansas. 2 weeks ago, it was Anna is considering all of her options and she doesn't really know about Josh. This week, it's she's not given up on him. What is it? What is it? Here's the thing is these two need to still look like a united front for the court. That's the problem here, is that this family has to look a certain way because Anna is been labeled as someone that's a good support for Josh. The judge even said that at the sentencing, the fact that his parents were so supportive. So they have to keep up this facade. And it's all just falling apart. And it's just so sad that this game is being played in the media to the extent that, like, we're talking about this and we're not talking about the kids and what was found in Josh's content. We're not talking about the daughters that weren't protected by their parents. We're not talking about any of that. Right now we're talking about a stupid argument that is in the media between Anna and Josh because they don't want us to talk about what? The kids that were in the video and the fact that Josh is behind bars for what he did. There's no mention of who he's hurt along the way. I want to put those out to the audience. Do any of you actually care what Josh thinks? So this is another part which I thought was interesting. Her in-laws are great. Jim, Bob, and Michelle are like her parents, but she really could use some distance. Josh and Anna are not seeing eye to eye on her plans to move. Remember how last week all the press came out about her friends saying that Anna did not have a good relationship with her in-laws? Remember how her friends said that it was a brokered deal and they basically treated her like a babysitter and that she's never been well accepted by the family? And now suddenly the spin is that Jim, Bob, and Michelle are great. Jim Bob, the man who sat up on the witness stand and said he didn't recall and couldn't recall anything that his son did to his daughters, is that great? Jim Bob, the man that is continuing to protect his son, is that great? Jim Bob, who has alienated and banned his daughter Jill because she wanted the truth and she was labeled dangerous by the family, is that great? Jim Bob Duggar, the man who now has Ginger about to write a tell-all about growing up in the Duggar household, is that great? There's a lot of spin right now, and they don't want you to think about Ginger's book. They don't want you to think about the victims. They don't want you to think about the daughters. They don't want you to think about anything. Jim Bob and his friends want to overwhelm you with this crap. It says Josh doesn't want Anna to move the kids away from the family. He thinks it'll create too much of a disconnection. We already talked about this. She doesn't want to leave him, but she does. She wants distance, but she doesn't. She loves the Duggars, but she wants distance. They're great people. Here's what I think is going on, and I've already shared this, but who wants to live with their in-laws? Come on now. Nobody does. Nobody wants to live with their in-laws for life. When you're a 34-year-old woman, you probably, having 7 kids, want some level of autonomy, right? But she doesn't get that because she's with the Duggars. But if you think for a minute that Anna has any free agency to do and say what she wants at this point, that would be false. And then they add at the very bottom that Josh and Anna's reps did not comment. It doesn't really matter because I'm assuming that this is coming from someone very close to the Duggars, and this is a narrative, again, approved by Jim Bob. If you've noticed, Jim Bob and Michelle and all of the family, they're very strategic in how they post on social media. And if you've noticed, there was a lot of posts by the family right ahead of the appeal because they wanted to overwhelm you with news about the family that was not related to Josh, right? Well, now that the appeal is going on and people are starting to talk about the case again and say, oh, what Josh did is horrible, what he's doing to Caleb is horrible. Now let's overwhelm the media so that we talk about Anna and Josh. I want to know about the kids. I want to know who in the family is protecting the kids. I want to know what they're doing for the kids to help them in their lives right now when they're going through such an amazing, huge upheaval. I want to know if any of them are getting counseling. I want to know if CPS has ever been involved. I want to know why they still have custody of these kids. I want to know why they haven't figured out that Josh did something to his kids. I want to know why people are still protecting Josh. And I want to know why an outlet will push these narratives knowing that there's actual victims in this case. I was thinking about the woman, the mother of the daughter that was found on the content that was found on Josh's computer. And I was thinking about her victim impact statement when she said that her daughter was a real person and horribly hurt by what happened in those videos. And that the little girl said, tell him, don't you know that that hurts? And she said that every time that this is uploaded, copied, and traded or sold, it re-victimizes and re-traumatizes her daughter every time this happens, and that she's not some nameless person out in the world. I think about her, not Josh being a victim. And I think about the 7 kids that are still under Anna's care, who's under the control of Jim Bob Duggar, who protected Josh and who is influenced way too much by Josh and Jim Bob. If you have nothing to fear, you fear nothing. If you have nothing to worry about, you don't care about the truth. The only reason you interfere with your children not being seen by CPS is if you have something to hide. I've had CPS at my house because I've been falsely accused of things, and guess what? Doors wide open, everything was seen, no questions, no fight, nothing. Because guess what? I had nothing to hide. And guess what? I hid nothing. And nothing came of it because it was false. If you put up such huge boundaries and you do not want anyone to have access to your children and you don't want to have anyone to have access to your wife, it means because there's secrets. It means there's things that you don't want out in the public, and there's probably more crimes that need to be uncovered. And I'm just going to put this out there. Like, while I'm being very cynical right now about these posts, and I will continue to talk about it, because you know what? If we don't counterbalance this narrative that goes out there, we forget about that little girl that was found on his computer. We forget about the little girls in the DD videos that were found on his computer. We forget about all these little kids that are stuck in this world, that billion-dollar industry where people are trading and buying and uploading and producing content for people like Josh for entertainment purposes, and it's horrible and it's damaging. That's if we let them win, we forget about those kids, and those kids deserve to be known, and their fight deserves to be known, and it deserves to be known that this family, Josh participated in it, and his family is helping him try to cover it up. And that's disgusting. So again, this is me, my opinions, my thoughts, allegedly. This is all this is my commentary on the situation. I want to be clear. Jim Bob and Michelle have not been convicted of crimes. Anna has not been convicted of crimes. There has been nothing coming out against Josh with his kids, okay? But that doesn't mean there hasn't been fears by a lot of people that their kids are involved, including the prosecutors, the U.S. attorneys, and the HSI investigators. So tell me what your thoughts are about Josh being afraid. Do you care about Josh being afraid? I don't. I care about the little girl that was found in the Marissa series and her being afraid, and the little girls that were in the DD series that are afraid, and all the little girls and boys that are trapped in this world and need a way out. That's who I'm afraid for. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.